Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be back this morning with you in this forum. Actually, I think One Young World is one of the very few forums, if not the only forum, that has the power to change the world, and boy, the world is in need for a change. Kate asked me to say a few words on why I believe companies can and must have a key role in alleviating poverty. And she asked me to share a few words on what my company, my teams are doing. But before I do that, let me share with you two very simple beliefs. The first one is that business cannot prosper if the society in which business is doesn't prosper. So the fate of one is linked to the other. There is not one or the other. The two are linked. The second belief is as important. I'm convinced that companies can and should contribute to fighting poverty in a way that has nothing to do with charity, nothing to do with corporate social responsibility, but in a way that makes good business sense. And in a way that makes good business sense, because when things make good business sense, they tend to happen faster, and they tend to be sustainable over time. I'll come back to that. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm first going to share with you why I believe alleviating poverty is possible, certainly in the agribusiness. I'm going to share with you what my company, my teams, myself are doing about it. And probably most importantly, I will ask you to join, not to be spectator, not to be commentators, but join, get your hands dirty. But let me start with the beginning. Why do I believe that alleviating poverty in one generation, certainly in agribusiness, is possible? It's very simple. I've seen it happening twice. The first time, and it's in the last 15 years, with the Millennium Development Goals. You all know that in 15 years, extreme poverty has been halved. Not good enough, just halfway, but boy, what a progress in 15 years. The other one gets back to my childhood, and I'll give you a short anecdote. I had my very first job when I was 7. It was not a real job, it was a summer job. But it was very important. It was the first money I would bring home. I became a farm boy somewhere in the south of France. Believe it or not, 45 years ago, in this part of France, there was no running waters in the farms. You would depend largely on homegrown vegetables and cattle for your daily living, and all the money you'll make out of the crops you'll put aside for worse time, because you have a roof falling, because you have a health issue, because your tractor is broken. Farmers were not making much money. Companies, agribusiness companies were making some, but farmers were not making much. Well, 45 years later, I still visit the farm. When you go there, you see four-wheel drives, you see large TVs, you see GPS-assisted tractors. It is definitely much wealthier. And what is very important there is that farmers are wealthier, not just because they work harder, but fundamentally as a result of a joint effort to transform the entire ecosystem. The state changing the property rights, making the farm bigger, better technology to increase the yield, access to credit, and access to education. So the better collaboration, by the way, between the cooperative and traders. So things are now taken for granted, but they weren't at the time. And that's probably my first message to you. Lots of things can happen. You can actually alleviate poverty, but no one alone has the solution. You need to think at the scale of an ecosystem. You need to think end-to-end. You need to think teaming up with others. You need to think partnership. Now, how does it apply to today's world, and how does it apply to my company? Well, I run actually one of the coolest company in the world, I think, and certainly one of the best business model. Let me explain you why. First, we are selling a great, great product. We are selling chocolate. Everyone loves chocolate. We are selling actually a lot of it. We are selling about every fourth or every fifth chocolate in the world. But the second reason is much better. We do not only sell for a profit, but we do sell for a purpose. 50% of the dividend we pay, 50% goes to education. And a large, large chunk of it goes to education in Africa. So it's a cool model. I mean, the more you sell, the better good you do. It's a great model. We could have sat happily on our hands with that, saying, well, listen, we're going to sell lots of chocolate, lots of cocoa. We're going to pour lots of money as a result into education, and well, the rest will sort itself by itself. Well, we decided it's not good enough, and we decided for one very simple reason. Because the cocoa farmers from which we buy, for a large part, live in poverty. A poverty that is much worse than the one I experienced 45 years ago in France. Their kids work in the field to help their parents, not the kind of work I was doing. Work that threatened their health, and work that prevents a number of them from going to school. So you cannot simply turn a blind eye on this. You cannot, for obvious moral reasons. It is not right. But if you don't believe in moral, you cannot either for very practical reasons. If farmers do not earn a living, they will keep clearing tropical forest for new farmland. There will be no forest left. There will be no rain for the crop. There will be no rain for cocoa. If farmers do not own a living, their kids will continue to work in the field instead of attending school. And by the way, they will not come back to the farm when they have an opportunity to escape. If they don't earn a living, they will simply not replant cocoa trees. And eventually, there will be no cocoa trees and therefore no chocolate. So that's why a year ago, we decided as a company to launch a movement with the ambition to make sustainable chocolate the norm by 2025. We call it Forever Chocolate. What we did with Forever Chocolate is fundamentally we committed to tackle 4 issues by 25, which one way or the other are related to poverty and poverty alleviation in the ecosystem of the company. All starts with farmer income. We committed to bring 500,000 farmers out of poverty because everything comes from that, and if you fail there, you'll fail everywhere. Tackling farmers' poverty is absolutely essential to eradicate the worst form of child labor. One is clearly the consequence of the other. The same, by the way, goes for deforestation. To avoid a smallholder to go in the forest in search of new land, you need to help them increase their productivity, diversify their income, and therefore have an increased income. And what applies to cocoa obviously applies to every other single chocolate ingredient. When we made those 4 commitments, they are time-bound commitments, they are metricated commitments, we are fully aware of a couple of things. I think the first thing, as we were sticking our neck out, is we cannot do it alone. There are plenty of things we do by ourselves. So we trained last year 150,000 farmers. We trained about 10,000 women farmers, and by the way, it has a lot of impact. So gentlemen, be aware that women are much stronger than men when it comes to farming. But we didn't stop there either. We put together, with the help of people like SAP, our cloud system to be able to monitor farms, help the farmers, fight child labor. We bought directly to 45,000 farmers, providing them with fertilizers, so lots and lots of things. But if you want to have scale, if you want to talk millions rather than hundreds, you need to get everyone involved. The governments, because they build the schools, they build the roads, they ensure that people have access to education. Companies, all competitors, like-minded companies, so that you can go faster to critical mass. NGOs to keep raising the awareness and drive for impact. The farmers, by the way, because they need to change as well. The second thing that was very clear to us when we made that commitment is we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. It's a risk we've taken, but I'm absolutely relaxed about that risk. If you wait until you have all the answers, you'll never move. So being in motion and putting a target you don't know how to solve is going to get you make progress. And this brings me to my very last point. What role can you play and what role should you play? How do you guys, ladies and gentlemen, step in and unleash the incredible power which is in this room, the power of the youth? My call to each and every one of you is come on the pitch. Get your hands dirty, play your part. Join companies that are a force for good and help them to get better. There are many of them out there. They need you, and you need them to have a greater impact. So you can challenge them, and it was mentioned by Elio, but also contribute and make your mark. And if you're not up for a large company, start your own company. Start your own company with the goal to bring solution we haven't thought of. Help change the ecosystem. Whatever you do, don't comment, please. Get on the pitch. So to get back to Whatever Chocolate, just embarked in the journey. We think we are passionate about that because we think we are doing the right thing. We are a little scared because we don't have the answer, but that's okay. We are extraordinarily determined to make it happen for a couple of reasons. One is if we don't do that, chocolate will become a privilege for the few rather than a pleasure for the many. And if it doesn't happen, well, we will not be, in the next 20 years, capable of pouring the money we have poured into education. In the last 20, everybody will be losing, and that's something that's a thought I cannot stand. So please join that journey, get your hands dirty, and keep fighting for Earth. It's the only planet with chocolate. Thank you.